I've watched our players and I've commented on it. I've seen them practice for 3 or 4 hours, and I don't know that they got much better. And every golfer's done that. We've all went out to the range. That was my career probably. Just beat a bunch of balls. I get blisters at the end of the day and feel good about it. I feel like I worked hard, but I'm not certain that I got way better. And so it's like, do you improve when you're out there? Are you engaged? Are you 100% locked in when you're out there and feel like and know that you're getting better? And I think that's a really important thing. And I'll watch our players in a 15-minute session get better than they did in the previous 3 days. And you can see it. And I can't necessarily define it. They know it. They can feel it. I see it.
Welcome to the Golf Parent, where you get access to the best minds in junior golf. Today, my guest is Casey VanDamme, head coach of the Kent State women's golf team. Casey pulls back the curtain on what it really takes to build a championship culture, from recruiting players with true self-belief to developing resilience in the face of golf's inevitable failures. We also dig into college recruitment, practice habits that actually move the needle, and what parents need to know about navigating divisions and the transfer portal. If you've ever wondered how to give your junior golfer the right foundation to thrive in college golf and beyond, you'll find a ton of value in this conversation. But before we jump in, I want to thank a new sponsor and today's sponsor, the International Junior Golf Academy. IJGA is the oldest independent junior golf boarding academy in the US, and they've been shaping champions since 1995. They do so on their world-class Florida campus and private golf course that only the students get access to. They get access not only to the golf course, but also the latest technology, TrackMan, Focus Band, Sand Putt, everything. They get to attend the prestigious private school Montverde Academy that enjoys a 100% college placement percentage. 100% of the students go to college, which means that IJGA golfers also get a 99 to 100% college acceptance rate. Parents, if you want to set up your kids for not only junior golf, not only for college, but for life, check out the show description. All the information's in there on how to apply and find out more information on IJGA. And now, let's get into the episode. Casey VanDamme, thank you so much for joining me on the Golf Parent today.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So, am I getting that right? 26 consecutive MAC championships?
Yes, you are. We've been very fortunate here. We've had when they started the program way before my time, had great leaders that fully invested in our golf program, and through the years we've had great coaches, great people that have donated to our program, and most importantly, we've had really good players. So we've been very fortunate.
Well, first of all, congratulations, because that is not a simple or a small feat to accomplish, regardless of whether or not the foundation was set up before. But I mean, still carrying on that tradition and being able to, I mean, every couple of years you got a whole new roster of players, new culture that you're reinforcing and building. I'm curious, for somebody that's maybe struggling when it comes to maybe another school that's struggling right now to have success in golf, what would you say is like a key to building a strong culture and a good, basically like a golf program? Like, what goes into it?
I think uh, you're trying to recruit players that have good self-belief and believe in themselves, and then surrounding them with good people, um, and trying to establish good habits for everybody in the program. And not necessarily, I think it went out with the hula hoop of many years ago, probably, to have leaders that grab people by the shirt and tell them, "This is what we do here." But just lead through example and have good people with good perspective, and then it does help when you like. It's new to me. I've only been here 4 years, but the other programs I've had didn't have it. But when they hear that there's an expectation and a standard, I think it permeates throughout the organization for sure.
There's so much to unpack there. Let's start with the last thing you said. When there's an expectation to win and an expectation to hold yourself to a certain standard, how do you guys balance like the pressure that comes with that, and I guess that not being overwhelming for the player, as opposed to that being this like lighthouse or this North Star that everybody knows is the direction that we're going towards? How's that balanced?
Yeah, well, I think it starts when we get here. They hear it from everyone, and I think there is a pressure with that. And someday, like we all streaks are going to be broken, and someday we won't win the MAC championship. That will happen someday. But I think pressure is a privilege, and that's what we try to let them know. Like, um, they're lucky to have that situation, and what they can do is control what they can control throughout the year. Generally, what you've done in September and October and August and all summer long, that's when it comes into play when we're playing in April for our conference tournament and in the postseason. And so it's not something that they're going to feel pressure during the tournament for it, because it's kind of same old when you go to tournaments, or you hope it is. But you I had a player that played for me at Tennessee, Oliver Goss. He played in the Masters, and he said a very profound thing. He's a 19-year-old, made the cut at the Masters, and he said, "My whole life, people told me to practice like I'm getting ready to go to Augusta. Now I'm at Augusta, and people tell me just pretend like you're playing every other day." Um, and I thought that was pretty pretty interesting, and I think that that's what, in a nutshell, we do in golf. That pressure, that standard, helps us every day in our practice, and then hopefully you've put in the work and you've had good habits throughout the year, and you have success when it matters.
So you gave a lot of credit to the players, and one of the things that you had mentioned is that you're looking for players with a strong sense of self-belief or self-belief. How do you root that out? Like how do you I mean, obviously the data tells it what it says, wins, losses, I mean, with the scoring average, all the rest of that. But how do you uncover the level in which there's a deep-seated self-belief in the player?
I think it's very difficult, and I think it's something. The one thing that the reason I do this job, that I love the college system. I think people are different when we recruit them and they're here at 17 or 18 years old, sometimes 19. And by the time they leave 4 years later, in some cases 5 years later, they're different humans. So you're a part of impacting them. So I think we can help that self belief, number one. But um, I don't know if I'm not smart enough to know exactly, I wish I was, how you can sort that out just through the way they talk about how they handle things. Are they a victim on the golf course? I like to watch, if they hit in a bunker and they hit a bad bunker shot. I think that tells a lot. Like, do they make the bunker better than when they were in there if they had a bad lie? Do they kind of slap the rake around and say "poor me" and then throw it to the side? I think that tells a lot about someone's character and who they are as a person. Not necessarily self belief, but I think all of those factors kind of contribute in there. I think how they interact with their parents. Um, you can tell a lot about how they view themselves, how they respond to adversity is probably the best way.
I love that. I love just watching how a player I've never heard that before, but it makes so much sense. It's like how do you act when nobody's watching? Especially when you feel like you had a bad break or you faced adversity or you didn't hit a good shot. Are you the type of person that's going to leave the bunker better than when you found it, or are you just going to kind of whatever? Like, are you that self-absorbed or that selfish or just that, interesting. That's fascinating. Now, you were mentioning that you can help develop self-belief, and you're right. I mean, you get kids and then you basically help develop them into adults. What are some practical ways that as parents we can help that you found to be helpful to actually help nurture self-belief, especially in golf where it has a tendency to beat you down week after week where, one day it's good, one round it's good, one round it's not. So how do we
It's
foster self-belief?
It sure does. I think having a standard, and doing really difficult things, we try to train much more difficult than what we're going to do at the tournament, and try to have like learn how to deal with failure. Golf is a game of failure. Um, it's how good it's not who hits the best 10 shots in the tournament or in the day. It's how you dealt with your not so good shots. And so we try to set up those situations as much as possible, and then try to help them through those things. And they'll have great successes, and they'll have way more failure than they ever can. But if they push their standards higher in what they're trying to do, their belief goes up. And so I think the best way is just doing things that are very difficult.
Constantly pushing you outside your comfort zone, doing things that are difficult, and then getting the confidence and the self-belief that comes from like, "Oh, that actually wasn't that bad." Is that fair to say?
It's all golf is, and I think we like a lot of the conversations we have with our players. If they want to play professional golf or try to play professional golf, is this doesn't end. This is when you start golf, you might play with your parents or with some friends, and there's just you keep leveling up to become a better golfer. And so you have to get uncomfortable. That's part of leveling up. So you play with your mom or your dad, and then the next level up is you play with some buddies, and maybe someone's better than you, and then you level up to a tournament, maybe a little local tournament. Then you level up to a regional tournament. Then all of a sudden you're in a national tournament. Then there's a whole new level of like where you maybe can compete like at a high level and maybe even have a chance to win. And then a level of like, I'm the best player here. I should win this tournament. And then, if things keep going, you progress, and pretty soon you're trying to play on the tour and you're going through all those levels again. And so once you've gone through that, I don't think most players think of it that way. I don't think most parents think of it that way, but that's what it is. It's getting yourself very uncomfortable dealing with that. And you have successes, you have failures, and then figuring out how like and kind of being you have to think it through and analyze and reflect a little bit on what you did well in that situation, and then what you maybe didn't do so well at and you need to improve at, and then actually act on it.
Okay, so I'm starting to uncover the formula here. So we got self-belief, we've got grit, that ability to kind of like stick through it. That also kind of closely related to that is embracing the challenges that you're going to be facing to continue to level up. And you said at the beginning that it's also the habits. What are some habits that you see that like the best junior golfers seem to have compared to everybody else that leads them to success?
I think how you practice. I've watched our players and I've commented on it. Like I've seen them practice for 3 or 4 hours, and I don't know that they got much better. And every golfer's done that. We've all went out to the range. That was my career probably. Just beat a bunch of balls. I get blisters at the end of the day, and feel good about it. I feel like I worked hard, but I'm not certain that I got way better. And so it's like, do you improve when you're out there? Are you engaged? Are you 100% locked in when you're out there, and feel like and know that you're getting better? And I think that's a really important thing. And I'll watch our players in a 15-minute session get better than they did in the previous 3 days. And you can see it. And I can't necessarily define it. They know it. They can feel it. I see it. I've coached long enough where I see it, where they're really receptive and ready, and their mind and everything's kind of hit the perfect spot. And that's where the tremendous growth can happen. And I think having a coach that is honest, um, and having people around you that are honest, that point those things out when it's good, and then also when it's not so good.
So what do we do? Because I mean, as a golf parent, we're gonna have times when our kids are just not focused. What have you found works to kind of get them back to get locked in without wasting that opportunity that maybe a window of practice actually provides?
Yeah, I think it's difficult for parents. I had commented before we started with my daughter is a basketball player, and I'd love to give my 2 cents every time. And it's really difficult for me to shut my mouth after a game. Um, but I've watched it through the years. I know it's not helpful. I know I need to be a dad. Um, and I can't, I don't think I'm 100% on that either. I screw that up sometimes. But I think having always reminding what is the end result that you're trying to accomplish in mind, um, and whether that's a goal of like, okay, I want to be a tour player. Well, I think you have to really define okay, what is that? Like, does that mean you just play in one tour event? Does that mean you're a top 10 player and you play your whole career on the tour? What is that? And try to get them to visualize it, and then through the recruiting process, and I try to almost talk them out of it. The odds of that are so slim. Like, are you sure you want that? Um, and then most of our players say, yeah, that's what I've dreamt of. That's what I've done all this work for. And so then I think it becomes pretty easy actually for a coach is like, you know, you set these goals up here of what you want out of golf, and you're here, and your practice habits might even be down here off the screen. Um, so do we have to reassess what the goal is? Do you think you're in line? Yeah, do you think that practice session was in line with that? And I think that can redirect players pretty quick. But also, I think it's, we deal with a sport of failure, and we have failures for practice too. And I've set up the best intentions with my practice plans, and this is going to be fabulous, and messed up a lot. Like, oh, that was terrible. That wasn't the right time to do that situation. And I think being honest with your players and reflecting a little bit. I think it's really important, and I think it's important they reflect, and whether they journal it or whether a lot of them do notes on their phones now. And is this getting me where I want to go? Would I have been better off going to the beach, um, and getting away from it, or like, when you're there, be effective with your time. That's what I noticed is probably what the best players do when they're getting there. And I think having someone to help remind that, and I'm not sure if a parent is the one for that. But I think it could be. I think the parent could ask, is it, did you get better today? Like, did you have fun? Did you get better? And if the answer's no to either one of those things, then something's not right in the process.
Do you find it helpful to have a clear intention of what you're looking to get out of this practice session? Like, I want to work on a specific chip shot, or I want to get a little bit more swing speed, like, as opposed to just, like you said, getting blisters and beating balls and just hoping that you're going to be getting better.
Yeah, we want you're either getting ready to go to a tournament, coming back from a tournament when we're working with our players, but in the summertime, and in the off season, like, we want very clear intentions of what they're trying to do. I think it should be fairly structured. I think it's good for a lot of players. I think it should be kind of individualized though. Sometimes you're having a great session on something, maybe you need more reps at that. And then other times, as we're getting ready to go to tournaments, we like to do one ball at a time, more randomized things to stuff that will hold a little bit better. And then when we come back from tournaments, we do much more block practice at certain areas that maybe they weren't so great at. I think also reminding good players, when you have high level players, you have to remind them and make them remind you of what they're great at, and they have to see that. And so we don't want them just practicing what they're weak at all the time. They hear that a lot. Um, you're a terrible chipper. You're a terrible chipper. You're a terrible like, boy, you're losing shots because you're a bad leg putter. I think they need to remember what they're great at as well, and in their practice sessions have measurables to remind themselves how great they are at that. I'm not saying ignore the things they're not so great at, but I do think you also need to give some confidence in your practice and not only remind yourself you're not great. So you have to have a mental picture when you're done that that was good. I got better. And sometimes getting better means I went through failure, a lot of failure, a lot of struggle. That's going to be a good thing for me in the end and make things easier down the road here.
Is there any other way, Casey, than that little bit of pain that goes into the growth?
Not that I'm aware of.
We'll figure that out. We're gonna crack that. Um, so I'm starting to get the formula here. So you're looking for, that self belief, that grit that comes from someone that's putting themselves in challenging situations, someone who has the habits of success, which is like intentional practice. Um, I'm assuming there's other habits that you look for aside from just the way they practice. What have you discovered? Is there certain habits when it comes to timeliness, mental habits, perhaps the way that they think about the game or think about themselves? Hey, if you're enjoying the golf parent, if these conversations have inspired you or helped you become a better parent to your junior golfer, please hit subscribe. It truly means the world to us and sends a powerful signal that what we're doing matters. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Your support helps us grow and continue bringing you incredible guests each week. Thank you. And now back to the episode.
I think everything matters. And I don't know why, but when my team can't be on time, I haven't had very good teams. And
Hmm.
and so a saying that we have in our locker room is, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Um, and so, like, how do every aspect of your life. I haven't seen people that are super disciplined and get to workouts 15 minutes early and are ready to go, and they're fully engaged mentally. and then go skip classes afterwards. I think the personality type that we're looking for, and that the highest level of golfers, they're great at everything they do, and they push it to they're going to do a great job in the classroom. They're going to do a great job in the community. They're gonna push themselves as far as they can on the golf course. It's a personality trait, and so um, to answer your question, I think every little thing matters, and the people that have holes in other aspects of their life, it eventually catches up with you in the college system and at the professional level, from what I've noticed. And so we break up down our golf team into four aspects: long game, short game. um, those are all the shots of golf. We think that's 50% of our tournament golf, Matt, is long game and short game, and then management, um, and that would be course management, but also life management, nutrition, practice habits, sleep, relationships with people, um, and then lastly, mental. Mental would be your confidence levels, your belief in yourself, how you deal with adversity, your visualization, all of those things. And what I've noticed through the years is when people are struggling at something, if they're struggling and behind in school, all of a sudden their golf game starts to slip and they're not sure why. When they haven't been sleeping enough because they've been pulling all nighters because they procrastinated on some papers, um, all of a sudden they just, their score's not right. There's nothing really that we see wrong with their stats. There's nothing um, real clear to them. It's fuzzy. Like why am I not performing at a high level? And I think it all is intertwined. We're people, um, and I don't think you can really set it aside. I think everything matters.
Very, very, very well said. So, okay, so everything matters. Everything's being kind of looked at when you're looking at players. There's a lot of parents right now that have those kids that are starting to enter into those recruitment windows. Let's switch gears here for a second and just maybe talk about like off air we were talking about the difference between Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 schools. Let's maybe just start there with what's the difference, and then we can kind of maybe talk a little bit about the recruiting process and what you guys are looking for and how that even works.
Yeah. Well, with the NCAA and all the changing that's been happening, I think it's really hard. It's hard for me. I'm a coach. I don't know what Division 2 is doing now with the new model that is coming out. I'm not certain how that affects Division 3 or NAIA or any of the above. But Division 1 is, for the most part, the higher level golfers. And there's some great Division 2 golfers as well. Those are the divisions where there can be, and NAI where you can get golf scholarships. Um, Division 3 is more academic based grants that they get, and there's some very good and been very successful college golfers at a Division 3 as well. But there's lots of different opportunities um, to pursue higher education, get a degree and play a sport you're pretty passionate about. And so it's really exciting. I think a lot of times I was a Division 2 golfer. And I think a lot of times people will immediately say, well, I don't want to be a Division 2 golfer, but they don't even really know what that means. And is it better to be a Division 2 All-American or someone who plays on a Division 1 team and never travels with the team? Um, that's a question that I think is an interesting one. And I know which one's better for your golf game, but I think sometimes people are chasing that. I want to play against the best, but if you're not playing, you're not playing against the best.
And you'd mentioned before about like playing against the best, but making sure that you're beating those that are in your local area. Like I know trying to get on the radar of a lot of the coaches, like trying to get on a coach's radar and trying to figure out how you can best position, your kid to be noticed by Division 1, Division 2, or even Division 3 schools. What advice would you give to those parents that are trying to figure out the best way to get on your radar?
Yeah, great question. And I done a lot of visits through the years with parents, and it's their number one. It's a number one question. Like, how can we get in front of you? Where and the smartest recruits, parents that I've talked to that and I've shared this with all of them is like find out where the coaches are going to be and go there. Um, and first of all, the main point that I tell them is like beat everybody in your area. don't, if you can't beat everybody in your area, unless you have just superstars that, first of all, if you have superstars that are being recruited by everyone, keep playing against them, because that's the best way. Stay in your area. We'll be there no matter where it is. Um, Secondly, if you're not beating those people, um, maybe you'd be better off playing in more events there, and getting the skills and getting better to beat them. I see a lot of people travel. We're in the north here, and they'll travel and play a winter tournament or two in Florida, but they haven't played golf for 4 or 5 months. The odds of them playing well, pretty slim. It's expensive. I don't know that that serves them best, and there's no coaches there. So the smartest things I've seen is, like, find out from the schools you're interested in. Um, Ask the coaches, where do you normally go to recruit? And maybe you just find that one tournament. Maybe it's more expensive to go to it, and you, instead of playing in 3 tournaments, you go to that one tournament where there's 5 coaches that you know will be there, that you're interested in watching, and then let them know where you're going to be.
What is the age that kids are starting to come onto to coaches like yours radar?
We're,
Do you
we're
care if they're the best 10-year-old in the country? Or are you looking at
um,
16-year-olds?
no,
Like,
no, I think that's a that question is very different for different programs. I think at Kent State, um, we probably recruit a little bit later than some of the other schools that we try to compete against do. Um, and there's specific reasons for that. But generally, what ninth, 10th grade year here in the U.S., when 15, 16, 17 years old, we're tracking on how they're playing. We can't communicate with them until June 15th of their junior year, or going into their junior year. And so that's a big date coming up here in 4 days, where we'll be talking to the 27 class. Um, so um, we can't communicate with them to them, but we've generally watched a lot of them and have an idea. But you want to get the whole profile and find out what makes them tick, what they're interested in, what their goals are. Um, and I think that's really important.
is it like one of those like kind of draft boards that you see with the NHL or NFL where it's like, okay, you got your top 100 players. You're like, okay, probably these players are going to go here, and then these like are you mapping it all out and kind of
Yeah, we're mapping it all out. And then a lot of it, I think, another thing just for junior parents that they have to look at is, you have to look at, if you're a freshman in the American high school, and I grade 9, I guess, for in Canada, you should look at how many freshmen are at the school that you're looking at, because there's a lot of times where we might really want someone, but we have no scholarship money for that year. For instance, this year we only had one senior. Next year we only have one senior. Um, so we're going to have much smaller classes coming in that time. Now, anybody in grade 9, start reaching out. We had 5 freshmen this year. And so you want to match up that class, and then you'll
oh
have an idea of how much scholarship money is available for the school, for that year. And I think a lot of times people are unaware of that. There's a new thing in Division 1 for teams that are opting in, which we are, is a roster limit. We're going to be stuck at 9. So if someone has 9 players, and there's no one graduating, you're not bringing another player in, probably. And I've seen that. I think that's an important thing for junior parents to look at.
it's a fantastic inside tip because you're basically saying that know where your best chance is based on what level or grade that is currently making up your golf team. How much turnover is it? Like, if someone's not playing well and they're on a scholarship, how often, and I guess you don't have to speak necessarily just to Kent, but just in general, is there a lot of movement where kids are either losing their scholarships because they're not playing well, or that they're moving, transfer windows? Like how does that work?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And the answer to that is very different at different universities, different situations. You have coaches that leave. Um, People, the transfer portal has made it easier for student athletes, to be able to leave. And so you never are quite certain on that so a lot of times coaches, I think that's made it harder for junior golfers, because a lot of times coaches aren't sure if they're looking for a spot or not. Um, Generally, that's the first question I'm going to get when someone's sitting across from me, is like, what does it look like? Do you have how many people are you looking for that year? And um, when I started coaching, that was very probably clear. There weren't as many people that ever transferred. So you knew you said, well, we're going to bring in 3 in your class 2 years from now. Um, that's changed because now the transfer portal, and so people will pick up players on from the transfer portal, and people will lose players to the transfer portal, and so it's very different for different programs. But it's made a little more uncertainty from the coach's perspective, and then that obviously for parents and junior golfers, it's made it much more uncertain for them.
So is a transfer portal always initiated by the player?
Yes.
So a player's not necessarily happy or is not getting playing time or for whatever reason is basically putting themselves out there like a free agent where they're saying, "Hey, I'm now available. I would like to be picked up somewhere else," or are they
Yeah.
specifically trying to transfer to other schools?
I think yes to all of the above. Sometimes they might have made a decision in their mind that wasn't a good decision. Like I wanted to go to that other school, but I didn't, and so they know kind of, and they've narrowed it down where they want to go. Sometimes geography comes into play. I think there's a lot of different reasons, but they are they are once the transfer window opens up, they're able to transfer wherever they want. They just go in and sign a form. They for they forego their scholarship at the university that they're transferring from, and then they're just they're on the open market for anybody that anywhere they want to go.
So once I'm just curious from once the player initiates a transfer window, is that it? Or is it like if you know one of your players, and I'm not saying any of your players are doing this right now or have done this, but if one of your players puts themselves on the transfer window, are you right away being like, okay, cool, that's it, you're off the team, or are they just like trying to find another opportunity? Like, how do you as the coach view that, and how sure is it that once a player goes to a transfer window that they're actually going to get picked up, and what if they don't? What happens?
Yeah, well, I think the NCAA has done a better job with that. But when the transfer portal first started, you could get on it at any time in the year, and coaches manage that very differently. From my perspective, if you wanted, I had a player when I was at South Dakota State that wanted to go on the transfer portal and transferred ultimately, and he wanted to keep playing for our team, and I wasn't comfortable with that, taking him, even though he was a better player. Um, I wasn't going to take the people that were invested in the program and going to be here for the next year when I knew he was leaving for sure. I think some other coaches play people that are in the or played people in the transfer portal. The NCAA made I think, a good rule where they now you can only enter it at the end of the season. Um, and coaches don't have to deal with that situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So no more distraction,
Yeah.
and it also just makes the transfer easier for the kid too. So it's
Yeah.
the school year's over, and then that transfer window, does it close again at the beginning of the season? So at the end of the season, it opens, and then
Yeah, it goes for we haven't I need to brush up on it. I think it's 30 days. It's open for um like basically May 1st to June 1st, and then you could transfer and play immediately at the other school, and um that would be how it is. And I think everybody manages different. Some of the transfers end up going back to the school that they were transferring from for whatever reason. I see that in there sometimes. And then sometimes they move on to different places, and then a lot of times kind of the kind of a scary thing, and it happens a lot, is there's nowhere to go.
Hmm.
Like they don't have a place and they're not
Yeah, you
going to play
burned your
college
bridge,
golf
and
anymore.
then
And so I think a lot of times having honest conversations with people and knowing where you are is a good situation. I feel bad for people sometimes when I know what they're telling me they want. We haven't had a lot of people transfer um, in my time here, and so I not necessarily our players, but I hear, well, they want to go there, and I'm like, they're not finding a better situation, in my opinion. But I don't really know the details of it, and then you see it happen where they're a lot of times transferring kind of down a level or to a program that isn't quite at the same level.
yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so Casey, you've got the ears and the eyes of golf parents out there right now that are very interested in how this works, in wanting their kid. I mean, that seems to be, I hear it over and over again. The ultimate goal for most parents is to help get their kid a scholarship into a good program. What advice would you give to them, for those parents that are kind of pursuing that?
I think you need to have a list of exactly what's important to you. And I think that is the goal for everybody, is to get the scholarship, to get the bag. But the way coaches look at it is that's the start. That's the start of our relationship. And so if you don't align with the coach's vision, with the program's vision, and your vision don't align, you're going to have not such a great um, probably it's not going to be a great fit for you. And so figuring things out, like where do you want to be geographically? Is that important to you? How much scholarship? Do you have a budget where you can pay for some, or is it you want a full scholarship? That changes the options of schools that you're looking at. I think what level? I, a lot of. Do you want to be the best player on the team? This dynamic isn't thought about much. I get a lot of players that like I'm like, well, they know they're behind a lot of recruits. I know I'm not as good as your team right now, but once I get there, I'm going to get way better. And it's hard to get better if you're not playing in the lineup. Um, and I think what they're not thinking about sometimes is, well, all of our players that are here that are currently better than you plan on continuing to get better. And
Also getting
so
better, yeah.
and so like figuring out a good match for yourself. Are you the type of is your daughter or your son, are they the type of person that it's better to have people that are better than them and they'll chase them down? And have they shown that they'll chase people down and beat them? Are they competitive like that? Or will that crush them? And I've seen a lot of players, a lot of great junior golfers that I just think are elite and would be superstars. And they go somewhere and they don't play for a year. And I think that it really takes special people to not play and then to become great. Um, because then you start thinking of yourself as not a starter and not someone in the lineup. And so coming up with all of those, there's so many factors. What, academics is obvious. We haven't talked about that, but that's a huge component. Do they have the degree you want? Um, that is the ultimate goal that you're trying to do. What are the other people on the team like? Are you the person that would be better off having the confidence knowing you're the best player from day one? Are you going to be able to handle being the worst player if you arrive here? Are you going to or should you be the third or fourth, fifth player where there's a few players better than you, but you're pretty comfortable in your spot in the lineup? All of those things, I think parents would know that about their kids, and I think it's something that probably doesn't get talked about much, but I think it really matters for their development in golf.
What advice are you giving to your daughter, and to any kids when it comes to talking to coaches, kind of the demeanor? I mean, you've obviously sat on hundreds, if not thousands, of the other side of the call or the conversation. Like what are you looking for when it comes to personality and politeness, and what are you looking for in the kid to be like, interesting, this intangible, they've got it.
Yeah. I first of all, I do this because I love doing this. It's not work for me. I love it. I want people that will help create the culture for 4 years in my organization of me continuing to love it, and I want them to love it. And so even if they're a little bit better in golf, but they're kind of a person that's kind of a little bit miserable to be around, I'm not interested. Um, and so the advice I give my daughter is go somewhere where you love the school, you get along with the coaching staff, try and get the vibe of the team the best you can, go on a visit, um, and then go there and plan on figuring out, like, for her, I think it's important she goes somewhere where she can play. I think she'll do better if she can play right away. I think it's very specific for your child. Um, and I think it's hard as a parent. You have an idea of where you want them to go, but it needs to be their decision, because I'm not gonna be there when it's a 6 o'clock in the morning workout and things aren't going well and relationships aren't great with a few people on the team or maybe a coach. And um, it's going to be very challenging. There's going to be a lot of things coming up. The schedules are pretty incredible. What we have these student athletes do, and so they have to know in their heart it was the right spot to be. Um, to have the ultimate success they're looking for.
Beautiful. Well said. Casey, for those that want to learn more about the Kent State program, to get into your ecosystem, follow you, follow the team, what's the best way for them to just follow along and reach out to
On
you?
Instagram, Kent State Golf. And I'm at Casey VanDamme on Instagram. I'm not a huge poster on that. We need to do a better job at that for sure. And some of it though is intentional. We want our student athletes having a great experience, and we want the word of mouth to spread that they're having a great experience. And so we need to figure out a way to maybe do a better job on social media. But that is where they can see us and connect with us.
More conversations like this, they get a chance to hear what you're all about, what the program's all about, and yeah, it sounds awesome. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, 26 straight championships for the women's team. It's incredible. So thank you, Casey. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having
really
me.
enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for tuning in. As a fellow golf parent, I know how much this journey matters. If this podcast helped you even 1%, please consider following and reviewing it. It's the #1 way to grow the community and keep bringing you elite insights week after week. And while you're here, check out the show description for exclusive discounts from our sponsors, handpicked to help your junior golfer train smarter and play better.